November meeting. Welcome to our returning and our new members. So if this is your first LSUAP meeting, why don't you raise your hand? Okay, great, well, welcome. First of all, I want to say thank you to Gina Guest for helping us get this meeting room. And as our membership gets larger and larger, we're going to have a greater need for larger rooms. So please keep that in mind if you can think of convenient meeting rooms for us to use.
Free. Convenient.
Free. Also, I want to quickly say thanks to all of you who have volunteered to serve on our working groups. The conference planning group has been convening, and we also are planning to convene some of the other work groups. So if you still have an interest in serving on some of these work groups, it's not too late to join. So please send me an email and we can connect and talk a little bit further about that. So what I'd like to do is go ahead and introduce our speaker. It's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Thomas Hatch. He's the Senior Treasury Associate, Banking, Investments, and Deferred Gift Administration in the Office of the University Treasurer. He is also a member of the University Staff Advisory Committee. As I mentioned in our meeting announcement, USAC was established in the mid-'80s as an advisory group to the university president and as an advocate for Ohio State staff. Since 1986, USAC has addressed important concerns such as staff benefits, compensation guidelines, dependent tuition, life insurance, personal information security, parental leave, and many, many others. USAC has partnered with Human Resources to award staff professional development awards in a competitive application process. And OSUAP received partial funding for last year's professional development conference through this generous award. I would like to have our USAC guests just please stand up and, or not. So welcome to our guests.
Thank you.
And also please join me in welcoming Thomas Hatch.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you offering or having this time available for us to come and chat with you. Now that she covered about half my presentation, I'll just cut that part out and we'll move on. But I am a first-year member of the University Staff Advisory Committee, and we're grateful to have a chance to get around and let everyone know a little bit more about who we are, what we do, what our role is here at the university, and of course part of the presentation today will be highlighting some of the current things that we're working on, in particular, some that surrounds professional development, which happens to be, I think, a hotter topic right now, something that's important to all of us, and even with President Drake, seems to be something very, very high on his agenda as well. So I conveniently put the website here at the bottom of this opening slide, so you'll know how to contact us, and there's a lot of good information out there. As all of you in your various roles are probably aware, most places are going through website redevelopment right now, as we are. When the newer, fancier version of the website will be out, I don't know, but hopefully it will be coming soon, and we'll continue to have additional resources out there for you. The first slide, which was already pretty much covered in a lot of senses, is just basically a little bit of a history of who USAC is and what USAC is. It did start back in 1986. I did highlight a couple different points here that we really want to emphasize. We are an advisory body to the president. We do not represent staff, and we really want to make sure that people know that there is a fine legal distinction in that. And we do advocate on behalf of the staff of the university, and it's really our goal. And one of the things that I would love to get out of a conversation here today is to know what staff wants, right? So we'll send around periodic surveys, and hopefully some of you have received maybe a survey through email. We appreciate you when you fill those out, because as much feedback as we can get on what concerns that you have, what do you want to see on our agenda rolling forward, what can we help with, is really one of our main concerns. So we are comprised of roughly up to 30 members. It's a 3-year term that we serve, and so about every year 10 members will roll off, and we'll bring 10 new members onto the committee. I do know from conversation we have some former USAC members here among the group, including a prior chair, and so that's great to hear. And it shows you here what we're comprised of. The one thing that I will mention is that because of the fact that we're not representing in some other issues that have been out there in the past, that bargaining related units cannot be part of the committee. This would be non-bargaining only. I mentioned at the bottom too, the subcommittees we have. Within the general committee, we have these subcommittees of which most people are part. And that kind of tells you a little bit about the areas in which we emphasize governance, outreach and engagement, and then staff compensation and benefits. I'm part of the staff compensation and benefits subcommittee. In my role in the Office of the Treasurer, when I came onto the committee, I thought, well, not only do I only have to walk down one floor in my building to get to HR, but there was a lot of stuff that naturally I thought related, and so I was glad to be made a part of that particular committee. I wanted to highlight a few of the accomplishments. A few were mentioned, and this is only a very partial list of different things that we've been able to do over the years. I do want to emphasize that in no case do we ever want to claim that in any of these we were the sole reason why all of this happened. In most cases, we're partnering with other groups at the university to push these initiatives forward and get them done. Such things as the creation of the Staff Appreciation Week, helping to eliminate waiting periods for benefits eligibility, as well as the dependent tuition assistance, and you can see the list there of just a couple of the things. And really we want to highlight here, working with OHR to increase the funding for our staff career development and the manager career development grants, which we'll be really emphasizing today to all of you, because I think it's a great accomplishment, and we'll be letting you know how those have worked and how they're doing. This year, or currently, we have about 6 major themes that we're really focusing on that I've highlighted here. These are our current sort of areas of focus, but as I mentioned, those are fluid and can change as we get additional feedback on what staff really wants to see happen. So, of course, and naturally, again, I bolded or highlighted the professional development, which we'll be talking about today, rewards and recognition, work-life balance, communication transparency, university support and assistance programs, and then some dealing with the regional campuses and being able to incorporate them better into the body of what we do here. Speaking of the grants, maybe what I'll do in starting this, has anyone been a recipient of either the staff or the manager grant here? Can you show by raising hands at least one? And I'm not going to call on you impromptu to have you share your story, but that's wonderful. And one thing that I really wanted to share with you is the excitement we have for these programs. The staff development, career development grant, as outlined here, it's up to $1,000 per individual or $1,500 per group that is made available for various development purposes. This can be used either internally to the university or externally for different types of conferences or seminars or training programs or things of that nature. And it's really, what it covers is really pretty comprehensive, as you can see at the bottom. Even such things as childcare expenses, transportation, things of that nature. And I'll go over in just a minute, sort of for the 2015 calendar year, what the applications are going to look like when and how and things of that nature. To let you know, and we'll be highlighting this more later as well, when this initially started, or a number of years ago, we only had a budget of about $11,000 to go off of, which as you can see, now these levels, funding levels, weren't exactly the same back then. Not a whole lot to deal with, but through a lot of effort on a lot of people's individuals, we now have, up at this point, about a additional 3-year commitment to have funding levels of $150,000 to be used towards these particular programs. Roughly between the staff and the manager, it's looked at as buckets of about $75,000 each, but that is even fluid between, depending on number of applications and how much money is really issued to each part. So I encourage all of you to apply when the time comes around. Don't be shy, and the application is currently in a paper form, but we are actually moving to try to put that online as well. They have a couple different ways in which you can do that to help facilitate that. The only thing I really want to highlight with the manager development grant that's a little bit different is that is internal to OSU only. And so being in this particular building as we did, here's one great opportunity. The MAPS programs, of course, is a great internal tool that we have here at the university, and so this type of grant could be used for that. It is primarily for managers and supervisors, although In some definitions I've seen, they've even suggested that if you're an individual who is managing or supervising a project, that could also qualify within that particular realm. So not as much things are covered here, but as you're well aware, when you're going to a MAPS course or something, pretty much all there is just the cost of the course and really not a whole lot of extraneous costs and expenses there. In 2014 was the first year that we instituted the manager grants, and we'll show you what kind of success we had with both these grant programs this last year. So here's some statistics for you. In 2014, for the staff grants, we actually awarded 92 for a total of right around $90,000. For the manager grants, we awarded 89, roughly right around $64,000. One thing I'll mention about these numbers is those are the number of grants issued, not necessarily the number of people impacted. So a single grant might have been for a group that may have been more than 2, 3, 4, 5 people. So this isn't necessarily the number of people, but the number of grants that were issued. And I will emphasize too that within the advisory committee, and one of our roles is we actually review these particular grants and help make determinations on whose awards and so forth. One of our biggest goals is to impact as many people as possible. So as like a small little hint, groups are very favorable. So if you want to apply for a group one, I think, not that we're ever going to look and try to be biased one way or the other, but our goal is to impact as many people as possible. And so I would say all things considered, if we're looking at $1,000 for an individual or $1,000 for a group of people, the group of people probably would have a little bit more of a preference because of the impact it's going to make on all of those individuals. So for 2015, the schedule slightly changed. I know there had been some discussion. We used to have an October timeframe for an initial application, but we're actually shifting within the Office of Human Resources, a group that's going to help manage these. So the current schedule that they set up is application for the staff grants will be in January and July of next year. The manager grants only come up once, and that will be in July. Then they'll take about a month to review them, make the awards, and then you'll have the opportunity to use those. They are done on a reimbursement type basis, whether that's personally out of pocket or through a department, they can then apply for reimbursement. But they're a wonderful opportunity for everybody to get chances at personal development. I wanted to share with you also, within this impact, one particular story that had come back from us, some feedback from an individual that had attended one of these. And I'll go ahead and read this, and this was related to performing arts. And she said, I gained an opportunity to network with colleagues in leadership positions in my field and meet peers. I got the opportunity to participate in one of the biggest professional conferences in the performing arts field. And then she additionally commented, I'm extremely grateful to OSU for the unique and amazing opportunity. It came at a perfect time in my career during a pivotal moment when guidance on leadership and a strong peer network can play a role as I take on new duties. So this was the impact that those particular grants had on at least one particular individual. And we're always looking again for feedback. So the other thing that I would just kind of throw out there is if anyone has ever had an opportunity to receive one of these and use it, please give us your feedback and your thoughts on how the process worked. We're always trying to improve that and trying to impact as many people as possible. So the other thing I'll just kind of end with as well, related to this. I had another gal from my particular office that was awarded one of these grants, and she actually used it for a MAPS course, and said that opportunity was wonderful for her and really made a big difference when she was able to go through that course and participate in that. The other final thing that I'll kind of mention to you in kind of wrapping this up, relating to the University Staff Advisory Committee, a little bit about my story and why I chose to join the committee. Again, this is my first year. I had seen probably like everybody else in OSU today and, all over the place, that the committee's there and that they have applications. In fact, our application process is pretty much kind of January, February, and you can go out on the website and find the application and what you would need to do to apply and become a part of that. And I'd seen that for years. I've been here for nearly 15 years at the university. But, thought, it's probably for somebody else. And then I was chatting with an individual in my office, before this last year, and she had been on the committee and was just raving about the wonderful opportunity it been for her. The number of people that she got to meet, the types of projects that she got to be involved in, the impact that she felt that she had made. And then also I got thinking to myself, in this particular year, with the new president coming on board, I thought, wow, what a unique opportunity to be on a committee that works directly with the brand new president to help him shape maybe some of his thoughts, some of his agendas going forward, and things that the staff really want and need and desire that we can get changed here at the university. So all of those things combined, along with maybe wanting a little bit more visibility from my office as well, caused me to think about applying. And fortunately, the committee was kind enough to not only accept the application, but to grant me a particular seat on that committee. And by the way, the president does approve committee members as part of the process, so it's just a great opportunity to serve. So one of the things that we love to do here in wrapping this up is to see if anybody has any questions. Is there anything about the development grants, anything about the University Staff Advisory Committee, and in particular, and we don't necessarily have to use this forum because of time, but any feedback, again, I can't emphasize that too much, that you can give to us of what are things that are of concern to you in relationship to compensation and benefits, or outreach and engagement, or any of those areas in which we touched, or those 6 areas. In fact, I'll go back. Within any of these areas that we're focusing on, is there things within those that you see or that particularly have touched you that you would like to see us carry forward in our advocacy role? So I'll open up for questions. Anybody have any questions?
Actually, I have some comments to make.
Or comments?
So the OSU AP Executive Committee, we submitted an application last year for one of the grants for our group for the conference, and we were awarded that money, as I mentioned earlier. But I just want you to understand that the application process is very friendly, it's straightforward, it's easy, so I strongly encourage you to take advantage of that. Having said that, on an individual basis, I've attended a couple of professional conferences as an executive assistant, and I have found them to be very beneficial. Conferences that focus on the executive assistant. So I would strongly encourage you to take advantage of those opportunities. It's not always easy to get away, but if you're able to do that, it's a great opportunity for you as well. And then I have a question for you. So on an individual application, would it be beneficial for someone who is an EA who might be supervising other office staff to, in their proposal, say that they would attend this conference and that perhaps they might be sharing this learning, having shared learning sessions with their colleagues upon their return? Would that be a convincing argument, I guess, to put in a proposal?
Absolutely. I think, now, honestly, I have not ever sat with the group that reviews the applications or been a part of that personally myself. And part of that's actually because I like to submit these for myself. And of course, that would be a conflict of interest if I was reviewing them and submitting one as well. But yeah, as much information as that you can put on that application. I believe there is sort of a big section where you can outline, within the proposal, the impact or what you're going to be doing and so forth. And again, with our focus and emphasis on impacting as many people as possible, if you can demonstrate sort of how this would not only benefit you, but everybody whom you supervise or so forth, I think that could absolutely be a factor that they would look and consider.
Just add a little bit. Excuse me. I've been on the on the team that has looked at applicants, and what we look for is for you to have an impact for yourself personally. So what kind of personal impact do you have? What kind of impact does your professional development have on your unit? And then the third thing we look for is what kind of personal impact, what kind of impact would this have on the university as a whole? So is there any from those 3 areas, if you could identify areas, again, personal, unit, and university, those are also things that we look at as a whole when we're looking at these, who we're going to pull through with these grant processes.
And I will also comment as well, and this is something, and Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong on this, I don't know if there's a specific, I think it's kind of mentioned on the application, but one thing that's really big for me, or especially individual or units that really don't have a budget within their unit for that, and I think really specifying that in the application is beneficial as well. to say, hey, look, we really have no budget for this. This is how it would impact, but this is one of the reasons why I need it. Because there are a lot of units around that really don't, and that's part of the great reason why I think this is such a wonderful program, and what we want to do is to give those opportunities where they currently don't exist budget-wise.
So there is on the application a part where you can say if your unit is going to help provide any of the cost or offset any of the cost. Historically, what we were hoping with this is that that this would be a supplemental grant, so that your unit wasn't able to provide for you, so that this would be the cover to allow people to get professional development. And what we found is, unfortunately, that it's just the opposite. This is the primary way that units are looking to support professional development. And that instead of it being a secondary kind of cover, this is the primary, because a lot of units just, due to budget constraints, it's usually one of the first things that unfortunately goes. So we're glad that we were able to increase that amount, because, as I said, the units are using this as kind of a primary fund for that professional development, unfortunately.
And I will want to add too, that, not that this will be the case all the time, but for the manager grants, now again, this is the first year we've ever run those in 2014, but actually nearly 100% of everyone that applied was granted funds. So, and now, maybe as soon as that's discovered and applications increased, it won't be quite near that amount, but it was amazing this year that because of the pool of monies that were available and so forth, that nearly 100% of all of those particular grants were funded for the division. We have a question?
I have a
Yes.
comment and then a question.
Sure.
The comment is actually a thanks to USAC. Specifically, one of the benefits I get is the dependent tuition benefit, and I think it was right around the time I returned to the university about 6 years ago that waiting period was eliminated, and so I am very grateful for that. So thanks to the organization for advocating for that. My question is, if USAC has any plans, as used to be done when Dr. Gee was president, to have town halls with our new president, or is that in the works?
It is one of the things that we discussed. Kevin's our chair, so I will look to him for more guidance.
I'll step in here, yeah. So we've been in a very fortunate situation with Dr. Drake. We met with him once before he took office, so we met with him once in June, and then we met with him 2 times after that. And the last conversation we had was specifically about town halls at the end of it, and he is incredibly interested in doing town halls. He's looking to get himself caught up to speed. So we're hoping that we'll maybe around the March time be ready to be able to do that. And also because some of the issues with people approaching him in public areas and some of the other things that have been happening in Senate and the Board of Trustees. So we're hoping that some of that dies down a little bit, and that from us, that we can present him out there and get, and have a good dialogue with the staff. So again, he has definitely said that he will do those. We're just waiting for kind of the right time to get him out there and let him get himself caught up to speed with what's happening at the university.
Any other questions, any other comments?
So what is the best way for us to provide feedback for you after we leave here today?
If I had a suggestion, again, on the USAC website, there is a contact section there where we have a general email address where you can send feedback. You can send it directly to me. I could leave a card behind if you want to, and forward that particular feedback on. Kevin, do you have any?
Yeah, the website is a great way to contact us, because the email, that's the contact form on there, distributes it to 3 different individuals on the committee. I definitely get a copy of all of that as well, so that's a great way to do that. We also, you'll notice on campus today, we will have, every once in a while, we'll have a thing in there, a blurb about some of the things that we're doing, and then we'll also ask for feedback in regards to some of the, what we have, surveys that we send out. So any of the surveys, if you see any links to any of the things that we send out on campus today, that's another way to provide great feedback as well.
Okay, and I will mention too, just we all get lots of surveys, right? I do want to emphasize that our surveys are typically nothing more than a couple of quick questions, so it's not like a 5-minute, 10-minute time commitment to fill out. Usually, and a lot of our surveys are often generated around, are you familiar with this? Are you aware of this? How has this impacted you? Things of that nature. So by all means, it is a very helpful tool for us to be able to gauge the types of things that staff is aware of or not aware of, and things that they're utilizing or not utilizing, and things of that nature. So we appreciate it, yes.
Quick question, or comment. Does the website have an area where that maybe would point people in the direction of these development opportunities? Because I know there's so many even just inside the university that people don't realize. Like to have a section with links on the website, or you might already have something like that.
So unfortunately, we pulled part of that section down. There is a section that mentioned it, but we had to pull part of it down because HR is managing, the servers and all the stuff that HR, since they manage the process, is there. So as they're going through their rebuild, we took one section down on us, but we will definitely have links from our website to all the stuff in HR. And they have two different websites, two different pages that they have, which includes the staff career development grants, and then it also has the staff manager grants as a separate page. And under there it gives examples of the things that you could use, like Fisher, John Glenn, the Women's Place. So it gives examples of what people have used those grants for in the past as well.
So much out there. I just realized that we were able to go take stuff at the medical center, so I started doing some of those, and they're free and they're great. But I tell people like, oh, and they're like, where'd you hear about that? There should be like one spot where
There is a professional development link on the HR website.
there
that
is,
they manage it.
that'll tell you everything about it.
Yeah, but I fully agree with you, because even within my larger umbrella group of what I'm under, we've done some internal training about what is out there, what is available, because there has been some confusion or not being able to find it as maybe as well. So I think that is great feedback, and we can continue chatting with HR about how to get that information out. Absolutely. Yes.
We're meeting President Drake this afternoon. He's actually from our college. So I wondered, Kevin, if you could expound maybe on your comment about incidents where he was approached and done it, you said, and
Yeah, it's just, it has a lot to do with the band issue and and John Waters being fired. So it's some of the things that this is from our perspective. He hasn't said this on his end. His end is he wants to just make sure that he's caught up to speed and have a little bit more grounding and fundamental idea of what's happening at the university before he goes out there. We just want to make sure that we're not putting them out there in the open at this point where that's still really a hot button issue and it causes other issues. So that's from our side when I say that. Yeah. Did I answer that question, didn't I?
yeah, thanks.
All right, anything else? I don't want to take up more time than is allotted, but we appreciate it. Again, just to kind of wrap it up, I highly recommend, first of all, applying for either the staff grants or the manager grants when those come around. So in January, looking for opportunities to apply for those staff grants. In July, staff and manager, and consider USAC. It's a great opportunity. Consider the potential of wanting to join or apply if that's something up for you, or maybe even greater than that. Give us your thoughts and your feedback, or those of whom you communicate with. Because again, the more we can serve your needs, then the happier we are, and hopefully that means the happier that you are. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
I'd like to say thank you to Thomas and to Kevin and to the rest of our USAC guests. If you can all join me again in saying thank you. And since we're welcome to stay for the remainder of our meeting, or if you have other things that you need to do, you're welcome to do that as well. So our next activity is a networking activity. This is one of the fundamental components of our OSU AP mission. It's to provide networking opportunities, both informal and formal, for our members. OSU AP past president Katherine Margard and OSU AP secretary Quanetta they're going to lead us through this meaningful and fun exercise.
I'm not sure how Elaine does it, she also took away part of my comments, my own comments. Great minds. Great minds, thanks, Elaine. Which, I'm pressing this, okay. All right, so I won't repeat what she just said, but I do want to emphasize that networking is one of those skills that administrative professionals really, really need to have. And it is so much more than, and to me, for the longest time, and this may be a function of age and just getting more comfortable and self-confident, that the idea of networking event just is like put sticks under my fingernails, stand around in this awkward place that would just be a room full of people that you don't know. And in some ways it is, the purpose is you're trying to meet people that you don't know and expand the network that you do have. But what we want to emphasize is, one of the reasons that's one of our primary purposes here at OSUAP is that networking is to practice that. We are a network already. I mean, we work together every day, but what we want you to do is to be comfortable plugging into the network and getting to know other people. I will tell you that this organization itself, and meeting as many people as I have, has been such a benefit to me personally as I do my job. Before I became the executive assistant to the provost, he was the executive dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. And so I knew a lot of people within the college, but the benefit to me in being part of OSUAP is that because through this group I got to really know so many people that when he brought me with him into academic affairs, I was able to pick up the phone and connect with a lot of people because I already knew them. I knew all the dean's assistants, for example. I knew a lot of the chair's assistants. I already had my network that I had through the college. And so I just really want to emphasize how important that is. So, I just want to emphasize that this is about relationship building. This isn't going to, it is not just for the purpose of job searching. So common reasons are listed here. You want to increase your visibility, you want to share knowledge, you want to get knowledge. Maybe it is career advancement, and there's nothing wrong with that. It might be learning things to increase your own efficiency at work. So there's a lot of opportunities and reasons to do networking. So there are different types of networking. There's kind of the everyday informal networking. I'm picking up the phone, I'm calling somebody. Not just to say, hey, can your boss and my boss get together, but it might be a question about, I've got a question, how do I do this in Excel? Or who's the person I need to call to do X? So those kinds of things are helpful. Is camaraderie? Quite frankly, it leads to job satisfaction. If you know the person on the other end of the phone, or if that person's warm and open, then it's great. It just makes your life a whole lot easier. Then there is the more business-oriented, formal types of networking. It's things like career advancement. It might be buy-in through collaboration. Let's say that you're leading a program, you're leading a task force or something like that. You need to get people together. So one way of networking, for example, are the work groups that Elaine mentioned. And so if you are part of the conference planning committee, that group is working together even now to figure out who are our speakers going to be this year. And so we're bringing ideas, and we're talking together, and we're networking, convincing, getting buy-in, all of those things. Sometimes it's about finding a mentor or a coach, and you're thinking about, again, mentoring is not necessarily for job search, although it's good for that, but you're thinking about what do I want to do? What is the problem that I have? Let me talk to somebody who's experienced this, or just get some feedback. Here's some things that it's not. This is some misconceptions. Your network really should be, not that it's going to be complete. Your network is never complete. But you should have a network in place before you start a job search, because you don't want to all of a sudden rush over and update your LinkedIn network when you're ready to do a job search, as an example. That's an online network. But you want to be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm thinking about different opportunities. Can we get together? Can I bounce some ideas off of you? It's not schmoozing. If it's schmoozing, you are trying too hard. And here's an example I can give you. I went to a conference a few years ago out west, and it was a group of 220 some people. And there was this one woman who went from table to table, and she's passing out her business cards, and she's collecting business cards. Do you think I ever heard from that person again after that conference? Kind of like collecting friends on Facebook. That's what it felt like. It felt schmoozy. So you don't want it to be schmoozy. It can be, as I said, very useful. In fact, I have an example from just yesterday. Amy Turner in Business and Finance called me up, and she's asking me about the pep band. Is there a pep band? Because one of her, well, actually it's her boss's father-in-law, has a suite, and he was trying to get a pep band. Well, because I came from arts and sciences, I had connections enough in the School of Music, and I knew who to tell her. I said, hey, this is the person that you call. It was great, worked out great. So that, it is useful, it's very useful. Overwhelming? Yeah. surprised to hear me say this. I am not an extrovert. I'm an introvert. You have to understand that extroverts and introverts are kind of, different meanings, but it's one of those things where it can be overwhelming, but you just need to practice. The fears, well, yeah, it takes time and effort and energy and getting over your own fears just to put yourself out there. So one of the things that I want to say about it, and this is one of the reasons we're going to practice this, is we want you to be genuine. It's not about being interesting, it's about being interested. And so this is the opportunity here, and we're going to do this multiple times, not every meeting, but we want you to get comfortable going up to somebody, and this is a safe group to do it. We all have in common the university, we all have in common the types of jobs that we do, and so this is an opportunity to practice, practice, practice. And so now Hugh is going to take over from here and let us practice.
Okay. Speed dating for initiation. How many people have heard about speed dating? Yes. So today we are single and ready to mingle. We're going to have a couple of dates, and the goals of our exercise today is to get a date. So after you talk to a few people today, you want to get a date, which is lunch with a coffee. Or you want to learn about a new tool or professional development opportunity. And a lot of times networking can actually help you learn something about yourself. Have you ever talked to someone when you were feeling like, boy, I have to do something that's really hard and I don't know how I can do it? And then they encourage you and you say, oh, you know what, maybe I can do it. So networking can be about that too. It's all about building your network. So we're going to have you get up and find a partner. We're going to do this 3 or 4 times depending on how much time we have. We're going to do a 5-minute round total. So a 5-minute date is all you get. The first date, you will address these 2 questions. Have you recently learned any new tools that have improved your productivity at work? And where do you see yourself in 5 years? Do you have a plan in place to help you get there? So get up, get